Most people believe their identity is something they chose, something they built, something they consciously decided to become. But identity is mostly absorption. It's shaped by patterns you didn't notice, signals you didn't question, and influenced loops you didn't realize you were inside of. Tonight, we're going to explore the dark influence patterns that quietly sculpt who you think you are. Not the obvious ones, the subtle ones. The ones that slip beneath awareness and rewrite the architecture of your personality. And as you listen, you may notice a strange sensation. A feeling like you're remembering something you never consciously learned. That's because these patterns have been shaping you for years. Let's begin. 1. The identity echo loop. Every person you've ever admired, feared, or depended on left an imprint. Not through what they said, but through what you mirrored. Humans copy the emotional posture of the people who hold power in their environment. Confidence, insecurity, detachment, intensity. You didn't choose these traits. You absorbed them. Identity echo loops are the silent templates you inherit from the people who shaped your early world. And unless you examine them, you'll mistake imitation for authenticity. 2. The subconscious permission slip. You behave according to what you believe you're allowed to do, not by society, but by the emotional rules you internalized from others. If someone punished your confidence, you learned to shrink. If someone rewarded your compliance, you learned to obey. If someone feared your intensity, you learned to dim it. These rules become invisible boundaries around your identity. You don't see them, you just feel them. And the moment you question them, you begin to reclaim yourself. 3. The emotional gravity field. Every person emits a psychological gravity. Some pull you in, some push you away. Some distort your sense of self just by being near them. You've met people who make you feel smarter, calmer, more grounded. And you've met others who make you feel smaller, less capable, less certain. This is emotional gravity, and without realizing it, you adjust your identity to match the field you're standing in. The danger is simple. If you spend too long in someone else's gravity, you forget your own weight. 4. The narrative overrides your mind is constantly telling stories about who you are. But here's the twist. Most of those stories aren't yours. They were implanted. You're too much. You're not enough. You're difficult. You're gifted. You're intimidating. You're fragile. These labels become scripts, and scripts become identity. The narrative override happens when someone else's interpretation of you becomes more powerful than your own. And the moment you accept their story, you begin to live inside it. 5. The behavioral contagion effect. Behavior spreads like a virus. Tone spreads. Energy spreads. Beliefs spread. If you're around anxious people, you become more anxious. If you're around decisive people, you become more decisive. If you're around manipulative people, you become more defensive. This is behavioral contagion, and it shapes your identity by repetition, not intention. You become what your environment reads. 6. The covert hypnosis of repetition. Repetition is hypnosis, not the stage show kind. The real kind. Every repeated phrase becomes a suggestion. Every repeated emotion becomes a state. Every repeated dynamic becomes a pattern, and patterns become identity. If someone repeatedly treats you as unimportant, your mind begins to believe it. If someone repeatedly treats you as powerful, your mind begins to embody it. Repetition is the quiet sculptor of the self. 7. The identity freeze response. When someone tries to control you, your identity freezes. You stop expressing. You stop expanding. You stop experimenting. You become the version of yourself that feels safest in their presence. This is why certain people make you feel different. It's not them. It's the identity you freeze into around them. And the moment you leave their influence, you thaw. 8. The shadow adoption pattern. You don't just absorb people's strengths. You absorb their shadows, their fears, their insecurities, their coping mechanisms, their emotional blind spots. If someone close to you avoids conflict, you learn avoidance. If someone close to you manipulates through silence, you learn silence. If someone close to you hides their emotions, you learn to hide yours. Shadow adoption is the most dangerous influence pattern because it feels like just how you are. But it isn't. It's borrowed. 9. The identity vacuum effect when you don't know who you are. Someone else will decide for you. People with strong personalities fill the space of people with undefined ones. Leaders shape followers. Manipulators shape empaths. Confident people shape uncertain ones. Identity vacuums attract influence, and influence fills the vacuum with whatever benefits the influence. This is how people lose themselves without noticing. 10. The silent contract. Every relationship has an unspoken agreement. I'll be this version of me, if you stay this version of you. These contracts shape identity more than any conscious decision. You become the caretaker, the strong one, the quiet one, the agreeable one, the stable one, the emotional one. Not because it's who you are, but because it's who the dynamic requires. Breaking these contracts feels like betrayal, but it's actually liberation. 11. The identity mirror trap. People reflect back the version of you that benefits them, not the version that's true. If someone needs you weak, they reflect weakness. If someone needs you dependent, they'll reflect inadequacy. If someone needs you predictable, they'll reflect guilt. Identity mirrors are not reflections, they're projections. And if you mistake them for truth, you become the version of yourself that keeps the relationship stable, even if it costs you your authenticity. 12. The reclamation. Identity is not something you find, it's something you reclaim, piece by piece, pattern by pattern, influence by influence. You reclaim the traits you suppressed. You reclaim the emotions you muted. You reclaim the boundaries you abandoned. You reclaim the voice you quieted. And as you reclaim yourself, you begin to notice something powerful. You were never lacking identity. You were just surrounded by influences that taught you to forget it. The moment you see the patterns, you stop being shaped by them, and you start shaping yourself.